Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and this week we have a return guest, Emma Mildon. She was on the podcast. Wow, she was one of my first gals on the podcast, and we have become instant friends. And I love that she is out with a new book called The Evolution of Goddess, a modern girl's guide to activating your feminine superpowers. Love, love, love this book. And it talks all about, it's really cool. There's an amazing quiz in it, and it kind of gets to shine a little light on what goddess archetype you are. And once you know what that is, there's rituals and meditations and all these exercises that you can do to kind of tap in a little deeply to your own feminine superpowers. So we talk all about her book, and it's amazing. And I love her. And she's coming to New York City this summer. So I am so excited to hang out with her once again. So without further ado, on to the show. This week we have a return guest, Emma Mildon. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Margaret. I'm excited to chat again. We always have the best soul chats.
Yes, I know. And so you were on months ago when, has it been already maybe even over, a year maybe?
Yeah.
We're talking about you, and we spoke about your last book. And here we are, and you're on your second book. So congrats.
Thank you.
It's called The Evolution of Goddess, a modern girl's guide to activating your feminine superpowers. I love it. I love it. So why don't you go into telling us a little bit about why you wrote this book and sort of what propelled you to writing this book?
Yeah, I'm going to be so honest. I finished the Soul Searcher's Handbook and was so happy and proud and honored and humbled about that whole experience. And I kind of felt like I'd done it. So I felt like I'd ticked that off my bucket list and vowed to come back to normal life where I wasn't writing and working every weekend and could go and have brunch with normal people on the weekend. So I settled in for my first weekend not being a writer anymore. And I woke up that first night at about 3 a.m. in a hot sweat, and my ears were ringing, and I kept being told the word goddess. And so I scribbled down the word goddess. I scribbled down a few different pictures, which is weird. I normally just write random words, and kind of went back to sleep. And I kept tossing and turning. And by the time I woke up, the fire, the heat in me had spread from, my skin right into my core. And I almost felt like there was an urgent drumming. My ears were ringing like crickets in my ears. Wow. So loud. And I almost woke up just obsessed with goddess. And I had never really paid much interest in goddess or the feminine up to that evening. I'd read the odd bit, I'd dabble, but I wasn't by any means obsessed.
Right.
So that week I kind of sat on it, and I thought about what it meant, and to be honest, really resisted it. And a proposal kind of came together of Evolution of Goddess about the feminine. And it was kind of evolved from The Soul Searcher's Handbook, my first book, which is a real introduction to exploring your spirituality without the rules, without the categories, without the opinions of anyone else, like a sacred space between the pages where you could explore your spirituality.
Great. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
Amazing. And so Evolution of Goddess really has become the evolution of my own spiritual journey. But this time it's kind of shifted away from, the crystals and the meditation and all of the modalities are still in there, but they have a real turn towards the feminine and sisterhood and you as a woman and what that means in your spirituality. So Evolution of Goddess became kind of like me burning my spiritual training bra and becoming, a spiritual woman. And I deleted this book. I finished the whole thing. And then I hit delete on it, deleted it from my trash.
Wow.
The first copy was the ABCs of Goddess, and it was very much a safe read and the how-tos. And I was lucky enough to work with an editor, ironically called Zena. I mean, you can't get more goddess than that. And she pulled me aside in Bali, and she looked right into my third eye, and she said, "No, honey, no, whoever's told you that you're the pinup girl for crystals and bubblegum spirituality is wrong. You've introduced people to their soul. You've given them permission to explore spirituality on their terms. And now you need to activate them. Now you need to make them show up and empower them. You need to put the sword down their fucking backs." And
wow.
I was so overcome with emotion. I felt like I'd been initiated by a mother.
Right.
And I remember walking down the stairs from that meeting in this bungalow in Bali, and my shoulder blades felt heavy. I felt like I was already carrying this with me. And so I deleted Evolution of Goddess and started again. And I swear this book has a pulse. That drum that I heard that night to write it is in these pages and weaved into these words. And the goddess totems and the elders and the woman that showed up during the process of me writing this was so humbling. And I'm so excited for people to read this because it is a book that you read and there's no going back.
Yes. Well, I wanted to just backtrack on something here. So when you woke up that morning and you were hot and you were just, you had these dreams and when you woke up, were you like, oh my God, something's happening to me? I don't know. What were your thoughts? Were you scared? I think I would be a little bit scared.
No, do you know what was interesting? I was almost overcome. This is rude. I haven't told anyone this, but I was overcome with anger. I was angry. There was a fire in my belly. I was ready to kick down my bedroom door and walk to my study and write emails to about getting this book done. It was urgent. I was in a hurry. I was frustrated. I was angry. I felt like I had been given a lot of women's energies from their lifetimes into me to make me move.
Wow.
And it worked because I was so angry. I remember talking to different publishers, and everyone was really interested, but it was always going to take years. This is going to take 2 years. This is going to take 3 years. And I felt like it needed to be out within weeks. I felt like, and that was me not really understanding that I was about to go on a journey myself to be able to write what I needed to write. But I now that I see what happened in those 3 years from, Trump to marches to Oprah to Trump to marches back to Oprah, it's
right.
It's kind of been the perfect spiral to land Evolution of Goddess when women kind of need it. Everyone's kind of looking around going, the hell do we do now? I'm awake and I'm spiritual. Now what? We're not going to change the world from our meditation cushions. What can I do? So yeah, and you know what? The book changed me hand on heart. It activated me within the process of writing it. And it's, to be the messenger, I really do just feel like I channel to be the scribe for this book. It makes me emotional. I'm definitely not angry anymore because now it's out. It's kind of like a woman gritting her teeth in child labor.
Oh my goodness.
The birthing process. And now that it's about to come out into the world, it's a celebration, it's a ceremony. It's any time it hits a woman's hands, I feel like I'm going to feel that and be grateful that it's, I don't even care if only 5 women read it and they go out to change their part of the world. It's not about that. I'm just so curious to see where this book ends up, and it's got a energy and it's alive. And I feel like I'm paying witness to this one, not the other way around, for sure.
So when you were writing the first copy that you deleted, did you feel a flow with that, with whatever it was that you wrote, or like through the second one?
It was a different flow. Like the first, like I always, if it's not organically coming to me, then I have to walk away from my computer. The first one flowed, but it was safe, and I knew it was safe when I was writing it. I was writing what I knew people would want to read. The second manuscript that I wrote, which is Evolution of Goddess now, that was, my truth, me speaking what I honestly felt, and kind of me purging that anger and frustration and emotion and raw channeling, no censorship, I wasn't channeling or censoring what I was channeling anymore. And I was also adding in, my opinions and the truth of the reality. I guess as authors, you are conscious of not turning the reader off or being too intense that the reader has to put down your book. And I guess that's something that I've learned in my writing as I'm maturing in my writing. I'm still very much learning and evolving myself. So it was nice to be able to kind of come into that space and mature a lot with writing. And Goddess has really done that for me. That mother energy has really cradled me in that process and, made me as fierce as I am compassionate, which is everything Goddess is about. And I think I'd hadn't really showered in my darkness before, and in that power, raw energy and emotion, let alone purge that through my writing. So it's going to be a lot of women kind of facing and introducing themselves to that side of their soul that maybe they haven't dabbled in. And it's huge. You burn through some amazing things for sure.
So before you wrote this book, had you ever thought about you being a goddess and just that women in general, we're all goddesses? Did you ever sort of already have that mindset or not really?
Yeah, to a degree. Like I'm big on Kundalini and I love the Shakti and, I'd read a lot of feminine books, but I don't think I had a real deep understanding for my inner goddess. And the modern goddess, I always associated it with something from archaeology or ancient or even, women who run with wolves. It was almost a bit mythological, like a folklore for me. And I think when I could actually connect with it and make it part of my life in 2018, that's when it really started to transform the way I looked at Goddess, because it became part of me, an extension of me, and part of the woman that I looked at opposite me. It became weaved into my everyday.
I love that. I love that. So walk us through a little bit about what you want women to learn from your book. Like, give us a little snippet, especially about the whole, I mean, I know there's lots of the archetypes, and so let's talk about that a little bit.
Perfect. I love this. So obviously, everything that I stand for is not about labels and categorizing and dictating how to believe and live your life, and spiritual tools included. So when I came into being called to write about goddess archetypes, that was a bit of a problem, because I went to take a quiz and find out what category you fit into. I had to really work through that. And what I came to was evolving the archetype. So when you look at Carl Jung to Caroline Myss to Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, they've all done such magical work with the archetype, from, the queen to modernizing it. And I guess what I wanted to do was strip away the crowns and the categories and get to the energy of it all. So it wasn't about masculine or feminine. It was about the energy you were harnessing. So I stripped it down to the elements. So obviously there's always been sun, air, earth, water. The 4 elements have been traditional. I really felt like, and Eastern medicine used 5, but I really felt like the moon, the feminine, was missing from a lot of those elements. So in Evolution Goddess, we have 5 elements. And within that, you can take a quiz to kind of gauge where you are energetically as a goddess, energetic, your element archetype. And that can change from day to day, because let's get honest, ladies, we can be a totally different energetic space depending where we are on our moon cycle. And,
True.
Month to month, from year to year. So it's really another book that you can pick up when you feel called to, and see where you are on the scale of things. You can then go on and explore that element that you're kind of in, learn how to dial it up or dial it down. And within that, it's got a whole pile of rituals and ceremonies and modalities and goddesses and their stories about what they were experiencing and their kind of hero's journey that you might relate to. And it kind of just helps you plug into what your energy is right now and how you can work with that. So yeah, it's different, and it definitely evolves ancient practices and pays homage to the writers and the studies and the philosophies before its time. So it's a mix between, new age and reference, which is quite cool.
Yeah, I took the quiz, and you can also be not just one. You could be 1 or 2 of different elements, correct?
Totally. Yeah. And more so than not, you're normally you'll have a polar opposite, like we have light and dark in us. You'll have that juxtaposition of, I might be feeling super emotional, which is water element, but then really driven, activated, and action, that's fire. So you could have water and fire element together. Now that could be great, because that could work together to make you super steamy and, things get really passionate and hot, or it could make for a super damp, moldy, energy.
Right.
So yeah, it's understanding kind of what 2 elements are strongest. And naturally too, you might actually just resonate with an element that's completely different, and it's okay to explore that too. You will normally find, I know a lot of people, we've sent this book out ahead of time to a lot of media, a lot of editors, and it's so interesting having the conversation, because we always have a preconception of what element or energy would like to be in. And when they get the energy, when they get an energy that's like, they're like, oh, I'm not that. And then over the next few days, they kind of observe and think about what they're really wanting, or what they're wanting to draw into their life, or what they're feeling or focused on. they might be in more of an emotional water space, or they might be in more of a social and connective space and air than they would normally, and all of those things. So it's interesting to flow with it. And that's the whole point. The book is there to evolve you and to challenge you and to make you question and feel and reflect and think. So, rest assured, it's not a comfortable read. Sometimes it will leave you the clogs of your consciousness turning. And that's the point, for you to adjust and expand. The spiritual growing pains kind of, I need a disclaimer on the back of the book, like warning.
Right. Yeah. I found out that I sort of am somewhere between, or air and moon are my two, which I feel they seem to be opposites. Would you say?
Totally. Yeah. Moon can be social because they're like ceremony, but they're also can be completely introverted and hermit, in that sense. And air is definitely social, it's interesting. Yeah. I guess what was the key points that really sung out to you when you were reading about those elements?
So let me just see I really loved, so there it said, I just wrote some notes here on where I was like moon and air, and then going into looking at what that all means. And there were some where I was like, oh yes, that's why that happens. And let me just click back to that page. There were so many like, oh, okay, aha moments for me, big time. And a lot where I was like, for the moon, that I felt like, yes, this is definitely me. I can be super introverted, super quiet, super sort of pulling away from, if I am around a lot of people, I feel like I always have to kind of retreat and be alone. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, so then it gave like all the different goddesses, right? And so how could that benefit us from knowing all of these different, like there was pages of goddesses? Like, would I be reading that and try to, what am I doing with the information about all the goddesses? Like, what's the best way to kind of, yeah.
Well, so at the beginning of the book, there's a chapter about the feminine narrative, and it says about how since the beginning of time we have always educated and inspired each other through storytelling. And with Goddess, they are narratives that we all know. So if you're reading the book and you're like, yeah, I know that, or yeah, that totally, that's because these are tales that you've been told through mythology and folklore and bedtime stories and Disney movies. And I guess as with every good story, and the reason why narrative will never die is because we connect with the characters in those stories. And in this instance, the goddesses and their hero's journey, their transformational arc of who they were as a person, coming up against a conflict, going through some spiritual growth, completely evolving as a being, and picking which way they're going to go in life can really help connect with us in modern times in terms of, okay, right, I relate to this girl's story. And obviously, when you strip away all of the antiquity and the classic nature of it and put it into 2018, put the goddess on Instagram and relate the story to something like that.
Right.
It's probably more relatable, but the energy and the story and the lessons are still the same.
Okay. Got it. I love it. And let me just go through. Yeah. And so then you would bring about so when I was looking at the moon, what was really cool was that you would talk about spirit animals and the emotions and the crystals and aromatherapy, which are things that I absolutely love, as you know. And so it's really cool to be able to be like this is full circle, like who you are and like what can support you. That's how I kind of saw that. Is that what you want for women to kind of take from this? I mean, there's like the moon flowers and moon phase, and it's just really, really cool.
Yeah, I wanted the book to almost feel like your own personal mama, elder, goddess, spiritual life coach, like a book that you can grab in any time of need, and it can help you, like you say, tell you what flowers would resonate with your energy at the moment, so you can put that into your space. The oils, the rituals in terms of breathings or mudras or yoga, the crystals that you could use. It's all just things to help you dial up and harness, changing a good day into a great day or a goddess great day. I mean, that's next level. So yeah, it's again, another book that really helps you transform and evolve on your terms, and hopefully helps add some magic to your day.
Yeah, I love it. I really do. And so, what? And there was something about the goddess that we talked about this before, Saranya, what I had never heard of, and she's all about like freedom and like being able to like do whatever she wants and go wherever she wants. And I want to see if there's like a picture of her or something. I really resonate with that energy. It's like something that I fiercely sort of demand of my life, is to have that amount of freedom to be able to be, do, and have kind of thing of whatever it is that my heart desires. But also freedom of like being an entrepreneur and not having like a schedule. I have to be somewhere at like 8:00 in the morning. And so,
do you know what's so interesting is that is all air element. Air is about movement. It's like a gust of wind, and it pushes you, like you have no choice but to move. The free floating leaf, it's unpredictable and unrestrained. Yeah, it's interesting. I
yeah, because I was air and moon equally. And so, which I found so interesting because I feel like they're somewhat opposites. But I guess air seems to be like, wherever I am, I feel on my cycle, I just always feel that intense need for freedom. And that may be another reason why I've decided to not have children. It could be one of the reasons that it's just my need to be able to go wherever, get on a plane and just go. And
do you know what your numerology number is? This is me totally getting off the book and just being totally curious with you. Let's just go with you. Do you know?
Oh, you mean my? Yeah, I'm a life path. Life path.
Yeah,
5.
5 is all about sudden change. I knew. Yeah, 5 is like you. Yeah, the idea of being restricted sucks. Even if you're in like every year of your life, you're in a different year path, I guess, or year. And I'm currently in a year 5 this year, and it's like sudden change. I quit my job. I'm like looking at moving house. I'm taking up different opportunities. It's not always necessarily good change. Like sometimes you could get something happens to you that changes your life, But yeah, 5, you're fluid, dynamic. That's so interesting. 5s.
Yes, 5s.
It's a book a one-way ticket somewhere, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love not having like an itinerary necessarily. I'm like wherever the road leads, I'm good. Yeah, 5. It's when I learned about it, I'm like, this is right on. This is spot on who I am. And so I just quit my job too. And so,
Oh, you did?
I
Ooh.
did.
Well done. Well done, Margaret.
So for all of you who are listening, you may or may not know that not only do I have my private practice in Manhattan called FemMed, but I was also working like a side thing, which actually wasn't just a side thing. It was a full-time thing in emergency medicine, which was extremely draining. And it was all, 12-hour shifts, and it just got to me. And so it's, I was doing one to help support the other, and I just can't anymore because it is extremely, not only physically and emotionally exhausting. And it's just something that I knew I needed to cut loose in order to not only focus on FemMed, but I had to, here I am, a Life Path 5 in a very restricted weekly job that was, when I was there 3 to 4 days a week, which may not sound like much, but 12-hour days, it took me a day to recover. And so I didn't really have a day to recover because I was in the city, and then I'd come back and go to bed early and get up for, at 6 o'clock to go to the urgent care. And so with hardly any days off, and then if there was a day off, it was, my podcast. But I felt like a lot of my emotion, my energy was just being super drained by this job. And I knew that how can FemMed grow? And how can the podcast, if I was giving really all of my time and energy to something that, yes, I know very well, it's something I'm trained in, emergency medicine, but it also was something that I felt was very soul-sucking. And it started to really, the minute I would walk in, I'm like, oh God, brace me for 12 hours. And I cannot live my life like that. I refuse to live my life like that. So, and also congratulations for you as well. You having quit your job.
Yeah, thanks. Isn't it so freeing?
It is.
Scary.
It is. It's scary. It's scary. I have to say it definitely, so, FemMed's going to be, she is the one I'm going to be devoting my time and energy to, which rightfully so. And also, I get to make my own hours, and it's doing the thing that I love to do.
Yeah. And rewardful is passion. And FemMed is so divine. I'm heading over to New York soon, and I'm making a beeline for you, Margaret. I'm so excited.
Absolutely.
I think it's an opportunity for more women to come in and experience the magic of, how you are as a healer, and that you're not, to weave together ancient practice with Western medicine and things that you do. I bow. It's so, yeah.
Thank you. Do you know, it really is hard to work in emergency medicine and have people come in and they're like, well, I don't know what to do about this, and that. Regarding their thyroid or some illness that they have. And I definitely give them integrative medicine tips. And I kind of feel it out first to see if they're kind of open to that. Some people just want a prescription. But there are times when I would love to do functional medicine with you. I think, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh God, I wish that I could just do all of these tests. And I do. I'm actually one of the practitioners that draws the most blood there. The nurses have all said, oh my God, nobody ever draws this much blood because, well, it's one of the things that I love to do is investigate, draw blood, figure shit out. But there's also a point, I can't do functional medicine. It's an emergency environment. So here we are. They kind of, very short visits, and nor can I do any sort of functional medicine testing. So, and nobody knows that I don't tell the patients there about my practice or anything like that. So, I keep them very separate. So it's really hard for me as a practitioner to see people suffering and that I know that I can help in a functional medicine way, but I can't because my hands are tied. So that's super frustrating. And so what can you do? I mean, I can't do functional medicine in an emergency setting. Occasionally I'll say, oh, do this and do that. And they're open to it and whatnot. And I will talk nutrition. I'll talk to them a little bit about food choices and things like that. But I really can't go beyond that because, there's patients waiting. It's a busy place. And so
imagine I just had this vision of like a very conservative person coming out of an ambulance and you're like flicking acupuncture, pins and then doing sound bowl therapy and aura mists, and can you imagine their face?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Imagine even just being able to give them the door to explore it if they wanted to. I mean, so many people don't know. They just don't know.
I know.
Well, this is why your work is important, Margaret. You're a bridge for the worlds, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I just feel like I need to be doing the thing that I love because that's what's going to really, it's going to help a lot of people. And I'm also back to talking to people about lupus. And at one point, there was a point where I was like, no, I'm just going to, I'm not going to do the lupus thing anymore because I think people are just sick of it. But actually, come to find out that I have a few blogs that I wrote a couple years ago that happened to be extremely popular and like on the first page when you do a Google search. And it's just astounding to me. So people are still looking for help. And I feel like, listen, I went through it. I can certainly help you and I'd love to help you. And so I'm going to be starting to finally write that book.
Yes. Yes. Goosebumps all over both my arms right now.
Truth is spoken. So that's coming up next. I'm going to start writing that. The thing is that this job that I had just not only took away, my energy, and therefore when you don't have energy, you don't really have creativity, and you also don't have the space or the time to sit down and write. And I know that I need to kind of clear the decks a little and have room to allow that to start flowing again.
Totally. I mean, no energy is for free, and we all get this, same bars of energy at the start of the day. And this is where you want to spend that energy currency, right? So the fact that you've reevaluated where you're going to give your energy, you're just going to have a transformational turbo button on you. Like the gust of wind is well and truly behind you. You have a backwind, Margaret. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it took me a long time to really give in to what is really needed right now and letting go of, to be honest with you, like a full-time salary. Saying bye-bye to that.
It's security. I agree with you. It's hard. It's nice that we both just admit that it's scary. Mm-hmm. There's days where you convince yourself that you can keep doing it. And then there's those bad days where you get into your car and you're like, what am I doing? So when you make that final leap, I feel like big leaps like that are always rewarded. Like it's, I'd be interested. I wonder if you're in a year 5 as well as a life path 5.
How do you figure that out?
So you add your date of birth plus your month of birth to 2018.
Oh, okay. I have to do that. And then whatever that number is. So for you, that's a 5.
Correct. Yeah.
Let me see what mine is really quickly here.
From the silence, I assumed you were counting on your fingers.
Okay. So it comes out to be 25, which is a 7.
7. Okay. Spiritual year. 7 is seeking. Yeah. So normally actually people do travel or have spiritual experiences or study or do things that are about their spiritual growth in a year 7. So that's interesting. I'm bummed. I was like, she's totally going to be in a year 5. You know, it's like how you feel when you guess someone's star sign and you feel spiritual as fuck.
Let me see. Let me make sure that I think I did that correctly. Yeah.
So not your birth year, just your date of the day you were born and the month.
And then this year, 2018.
That's the one. Yeah.
2018.
Yep.
Yeah. It seems to be 10, 11. Yeah. Okay. So 7. So spiritual.
The good news is next year is an 8 year, which is like business, success, contract, progress, like abundance. Yeah. So heads up for that.
All right. That's awesome.
And you would have just clicked into a year 7 from May, from your birthday, correct?
Oh, yeah. Just passed.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting. Did you quit your job before your birthday?
I quit it. I had to give 90 days notice, so I quit in March.
Yeah. So you did quit in a year 5.
Oh, okay.
I'm like you. I'm like drawing blood of your spiritual experiences to the bottom of this, Margaret.
Oh, okay. So you could do it monthly. You can do it as a monthly thing too?
Well, no, your personal year goes from your birth month, so your birthday. So when you hit your birthday, you enter a different year. So your personal years aren't with the new year; it's with your birthday. So you would have clicked over to a 7 from your birthday in May.
But so then before that, I was a 6.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm still thinking. I'm just trying to get you to 5. 6 is the caregiver year. So before that, 6 is like the pregnant mum. So energetically wise, you're taking care of everybody else. It's a year that you normally end up sacrificing for loved ones.
Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Like I could be way off
that
there,
was
Margaret.
super draining. Yeah, I definitely did that when my dad was in the hospital last year. And okay, well that makes sense. Okay. And so this is your year 5, right?
Yeah, 5. Yeah. So I'm getting married this year, moving house.
Okay.
Change my job. Next year I plan on trying for babies, and that's a year 6. So that's positive.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. I might need to come to FemMed to get some support with my fertility and get all my stuff in alignment, because I'm sure my hormones are all up the woo. Do you know what? So you'll find this interesting. When I wrote Evolution of Goddess, afterwards I felt really fatigued, like I had just given birth, that sort of feeling. And I went and got my bloods done and a Dutch test, and I found out that I had like next to no iron, and my testosterone levels had dropped out. It's almost like I got so much into my feminine, so into my curvy, squishy self. I kept wondering where all my muscle was going, because my masculinity had checked out.
Interesting. Oh, we can talk about this after. Yeah, I can tell you. Yeah, I've got some thoughts around that. So what else? Tell us a little bit more. Like, what else do you want women to, take away from your book?
I want women to feel like they've found a new sense of themselves. I want women to feel powerful in the good and the bad and all of their experiences that they've had. I want people to feel like they can transform hardships and challenges and fears into a catalyst to propel them forward to where they want to go. And I really want them to feel activated and armed, and not armed, with a sense of there's a fight. And this isn't, Evolution of Goddess isn't just for women. It's feminine, and everybody can be feminine, even men. And I just want them to feel like they can go out into the arena of life and contribute and change and connect and build community and feel empowered and strong and balanced enough to do that with ease and grace. So, I just want to arm anybody with the knowledge and tools that they need to do that.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I love that. There was also a quote here I wanted to just read from your book, and I'm just looking for it right now. And just talking about what you had just mentioned about the empowerment, there was something you say here. The most beautiful thing is going to happen to you in these pages: empowerment, and then empowered action. Fact is, empower women and you empower the world. Together we can speak, we can share our voice, we can protect, educate, uplift others, scream, laugh, cry, talk, forgive, and move forward. We can take a knee or take a stand. Our feelings can move through us. We can move. More importantly, we can move others. And that just was like, oh, yes, I totally feel you. I love that you created this book. I want to see more and more women connected to their power, because being a woman and in our feminine nature is not weak. It is one of the strongest and most powerful things that we inhabit. It is rightfully ours, and it's finally time for us to really grab a hold of it and have it, create magic in our life.
Well said, Margaret. Yeah, you are so right. And you're right about our emotions are our superpower. And as women, we know, we feel deeply. And that's why we can be divinely passionate or psycho-passionate, because we care.
Yeah.
And I think harnessing that is look out world.
Well, thank you so much for creating this book and for just everything that you're doing in this world. So now I'm kind of like, oh, what's going to happen next? Now that this is over, in the couple of weeks, will there be another tug for you to create something different?
I went to a healer yesterday, and she told me that there's another book, and I was so pissed off, and it was a familiar feeling. So I am in the stage of not writing another book, not wanting to write another book, but I guess we'll talk next year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how long did when you had to rewrite it, how long did that take?
So this, I started working on this well before ever the Soul Searcher's Handbook was out. So it's actually, by the time it gets on the shelf, it will be 3 years in the process of all the research, all the writing, all the rewriting and deleting and writing again.
Yeah.
To the actual publishing and design and layout. It's been 3 years. So it's
okay.
And patience is not my virtue. So yeah, I'm
Well, I love having you on. And so I am grateful for you and knowing you, and can't wait to see you in New York. Just a couple of months. You definitely have to come to FemMed, and let's just get you nurtured and ready for baby.
That sounds amazing. Thanks for having me, Margaret. I adore you.
I adore you as well.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed this conversation and found out what your goddess archetype is. So to learn more about Emma and for all the show notes, head on over to margaretromero.com/episode 81. And if you know anyone that is currently suffering from lupus and would love to join the 7-day challenge, head on over to margaretromero.com/challenge and learn all about it. Get 7 days packed with tips and tricks that have kept me out of the hospital That link, once again, is margaretromero.com/challenge.